Sometime in the deepest, darkest depths of ancient antiquity, a spaceship landed on the planet Earth. A brave band of intergalactical pioneers from the planet Lugosi, dispatched by their queen, Bella of Lugosi, in search of new worlds to conquer. And it looked like they just found one. An apparently untamed, untrained, underutilized wilderness, ripe with rich plumbing possibilities, and no sign of intelligent life. Just all these grubby buggers in musky diapers, obviously as thick as two short planks. Wouldn't know their technological arse from their elbow. Seem to spend most of their days lying around alone or on top of each other when they're not bent over, semi-erectors tugging misshapen, apparently edible objects out of the ground. Or fully erectors, hyperkinetically dancing about, waving their arms and legs around and chanting gibberish to somebody who doesn't seem to have landed yet. We need to show them what real civilization looks like. We'll be doing them a favor. They've already accepted us as gods. We've been feasted and fated. And they were absolutely blown away by our impromptu after-dinner magic show and the unfurling of the Lugosian flag, as we explained in sign language the great cosmic principles of eminent domain, Lebensraum, and finders keepers. Some of them didn't seem to realize they'd been found yet. It was only after we explained in sign language the kind of work they would have to be doing for the rest of their lives. Some of them turned rather rude and belligerent. Of course, we vaporized them on the spot. The best sign language ever invented. The rest of them seemed to get the message, especially when they realized we were not going to bring their friends back anytime soon. They decided to cooperate. But to preempt any future peevish outbursts, we immediately initiated a program of mutative miscegenation, implanting our extraterrestrial seed into several of the least grubby females of the species, bred a whole new bloodline race of hybridized humanoids, now only thick as one short plank, whose loyalties and identities were now so confused and compromised, they were willing to accept guidance from anybody. Who the hell are we? Where the hell are we? Well, the cream of this where the hell are we crop we dispatched to various strategic outposts throughout the planet to promote and promulgate our civilizing agenda, and to procreate, a little more selectively, future generations of hybridized humanoids, some of whom we let in on the secret that they were not altogether human, and therefore could do all kinds of shit none of them regular grubby buggers would ever dare dream of doing. But to ease their grubby nightmares, we inaugurated an ongoing series of magic shows, each one more spectacular than the last. Along with regular, apparently random, massive apparitions, civilization progressed apace, worked like a charm, till eventually nobody could even remember or were quite willing to forget that the world had ever been any different from how it now is, was, and ever shall be. A fairy tale come true. Kings and queens, and princes and princesses, great leaders, great battles, great heroes, such nobility, grace, courage, and beauty of stature would make the grubbiest eyeballs bleed with admiration, and yearning to emulate their idols, go forth and give their lives in the battle against any monstrously ogreish villains or wicked stepmothers who dared to impede our progress into this brave new world, built from such humble two-short plank beginnings and an apparently meaningless existence. For 6 millennia, that brave band of intergalactical pioneers labored night and day. But on the 7th millennium, first Wednesday, they rested, decided it was time for a break. They'd earned it. So they loaded up their spaceship with all manner of precious metals and jewels, and at least a light year's supply of cornflakes and matzo balls, and they returned home to a hero's welcome from their queen, Bella of Lugosi, leaving the planet Earth to be ruled over by their loyally hybridized henchmen and a few women, as well and as wisely as they'd been pre-programmed to do. But as in any popular fiction worth its mythological salt, there's a twist in Moby Dick's tale. Some of those loyally hybridized henchmen and ever more women were not as loyal as they pretended to be. After 6 millennium, all the planking burned from their brain with too much thinking. They could see their condition clearly. They were merely puppet slaves to their alien masters, who didn't even live here anymore, just kept demanding their regular light-year tribute shipment of cornflakes and matzo balls. Independence stirred in their hybridized hearts. But before they dared declare open defiance, they needed to develop a cosmic state-of-the-art technological prowess that would show their alien masters they were not going to go down without a fight. Plus, they had to create this world, a united front. If we want to be masters of our own world, we're all in this together. The rallying cry. We need loyal servants, no dissenters in the rank and file, no bad apples in our barrel. So they initiated the program of mutative transformation they'd learned from the best. They implanted a biogenetically modified seed of unquestioning loyalty into everybody on the planet. Then they organized a global tea party, dumped a whole load of the Lugosians' favorite treats in the Atlantis Ocean. As the first world president-elect proclaimed on screens from pole to pole and all across the equator, "How do you like them matzo balls, MFs? You can grow your own cornflakes from now on." And everybody cheered and waved their new world flags, because they finally knew exactly who the hell they were. You either believe it or you don't. There are some things that we know, some things that we don't know. Some things we think we know, some things we thought we knew, some things we know we don't know, and some things we don't know, and some things we think we'll never know. In this lifetime anyway, because they're unknowable, but you never know. I could change my mind at any moment. Somebody comes along, tells me something I didn't know before, but now I do, so I can't go around pretending I don't, even if it was something I didn't really want to know. A sure sign it may be something I really needed to know. I just need to know it may not be the last word on the subject. I could change my mind at any moment. Meanwhile, for my own sanity's sake, for my mortally challenged time being, I need to constantly reassess what I think I know, digest and deal with it as best I can, knowing it may not be the last word on the subject, because I could change my mind at any moment, which must give me a clue about what knowledge really is. Passing thoughts and fancies. How I got to be where I don't really know where I am today. Who I am, what I am, really. A product of social engineering, a prisoner of technology, or a free spirit in full flight from a reality that may be more real than I like to think I thought I knew it was. Meanwhile, for my own sanity's sake, for my mortally challenged time being, I just need to know I don't yet know enough to reach a final conclusion. It's the wisdom of the ages, the seeds of intelligent progress, all this knowledge passed down from the ancients. Let's face it, a lot of people put a lot of thought into this. It didn't just spring up out of nowhere. Or if it did, who knows? I might eventually know exactly where that is. Nowhere where nobody lives. So I'll never have to change my mind ever again, because there'll be nobody around to tell me any different. Does anybody think they're here for the first time? Does anybody think they've been here before? Does anybody think they should be somewhere else? Somebody else? Does anybody wish they were somebody else? Does anybody think they really are somebody else? They're just working undercover. CIA, MI6, Mossad, citizen police, agent provocateur. Anybody think they've been infiltrated? Anybody think they've been interfered with? Are there any creeps listening to this? Hands up if you're a creep, just don't want to admit it. Hands up anybody who's ever behaved like a creep and felt bad about it later. Interactive airwaves. Hands up anybody who's behaved like a creep and didn't feel bad about it later, just doing my job. Keeping the world safe from bullies. Any bullies listening to this? Anybody listening to this? At least you're not a creep. No point creeping around if you want to be a bully. It's a bit like trying to sell somebody a vacuum cleaner when all they really wanted was a pair of shoes. Any wimps listening to this? Anybody listening to this? Hands up anybody who thinks this world is being run by creeps and bullies, but they're too much of a wimp to do anything about it. Hands up anybody who doesn't want to put their hands up. Anybody who thinks surrender is the best form of retreat. Anybody already retreated into their assigned self. Hands up anybody who's ever bought a vacuum cleaner when all they really wanted was a pair of shoes. Does anybody here think this moment is not memorable? Anybody here think there's a time to act and a time to think? Anybody here think this is a good time to think you're acting, to act like you're thinking? Anybody think the future is in cyberspace? Can anybody tell me the difference between cyberspace, outer space, and this space? Is anybody waiting for reality to kick in? Is anybody hoping it never does, because it could be terribly disillusioning? Anybody not with a medical condition? Anybody think that music is the key to living in peace? Anybody think too many musicians are playing in the wrong key? Anybody think there's a hole in the ozone layer, which means we can raise the debt ceiling into outer space? Anybody think the key to living in peace is being able to express your anger? Anybody think we threw away the key in a fit of rage? Does anybody remember their first kiss? Does anybody remember their second kiss? Does anybody think Shakespeare was really somebody else? Does anybody think a rose by any other name would never be able to write Hamlet? Does anybody think outer space is a psychological implant? Anybody think social media was designed to keep graffiti off the streets? Anybody still think they haven't been here before? Anybody think there's a first time for nothing? Is anybody here waiting for a big bang? Some small consolation? Does anybody think everything came from nothing, so we only have nothing to lose? Is there anybody who can't wait for all this to be over? I sing the body electric. I think I've been magnetically deranged.